Good evening, everyone. My name is Bukola David. I'll be the Scrum Master for Team Agile. Will be presenting, as well as Oluwasegun presenting the latter part of the presentation. I'll kickstart with okay, going ahead. This is the Scrum Master's presentation. This is the agenda. For the whole program, we had only 3 Scrum Masters. Those 6 of us were assigned, but 3 were the only active ones. Then these were the Scrum Masters lead. I led for season 1, 4, and 6. Toyosi led for sprint 3. Then Bigbe Ayola led for sprint 2 and 5. And these were the tools that were utilized during the whole program. Going ahead, firstly, we had to develop our team charter. There's a link for the team charter that you can be able to view on the slide. And these were the roles, our responsibilities as a Scrum Master, facilitating the Scrum ceremony, supporting team development, ensuring alignment with Agile principles, stakeholder management, fostering team collaboration, monitoring progress. And this was our team definition of ready for the whole team. We have these, and as well as the second slide, which is the continuation of the definition of ready for the whole team. Then we also have our definition of done, which all this were developed during the time where we developed our team charter. Definition of done, we have the continuation as well here. Then these were the Scrum ceremonies that we had all through from sprint 1 to sprint 6. These are the sprint planning, daily stand-up, refinement, the retrospective and review, as well as the end of sprint demo with dates that we had them. Then we had sprint goal for sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. We worked with SharePoint, and from sprint 3 we added the Long Reach Way e-commerce platform development all the way to sprint 6. And this is the capacity planning. We had 2 sets of capacity planning. The first from sprint 1 to sprint 3, because the SMs were the developer for the SharePoint. We had the SMs as developer, then we had the tester. We assigned 2 hours per day, and these were the total hours per sprint. Then when we moved on to sprint 4, from sprint 3, actually, we had to readjust the capacity planning. Sprint 3, we didn't really change the capacity planning, but by sprint 4, we adjusted this timing, the capacity planning to adopt the 2 developers that we had. And these were the calculation. We had the default distribution. Then we went ahead to calculate the available capacity. Then we calculated the focus factor, and we were able to get the real capacity, which was what we utilized from sprint 4 to sprint 6. And these were the estimate sessions that we had. We used the Fibonacci estimation criteria to do our estimation. So we had from sprint 1 to sprint 6, where we had the developers and the tester do their voting to commit PBIs into sprints. Then we had the SharePoint project mandate. We had to develop a SharePoint that is tailored specifically to the project, for the project team, the roles, deliverables, and the key deliverables. And then these were the timelines and the metrics for the SharePoint project. We commenced the SharePoint project on the 3rd of June throughout all the way to 29th of July, and we went through from sprint 1 to sprint 4. And this is the Long Reach Way project mandate, the purpose of the project, and the project deliverables. And this is the timeline and the metrics for the project Long Reach Way, the commencement date, the completion date, the number of PBIs that were written and completed. Then here we are drilling down into the metrics. We started sprint 1, and we had 9 PBI committed, 6 completed on time within sprint, and 3 completed within speak, I beg your pardon, and 6 completed late, was 100% completion. Then we had the end date. And this is our dashboard with the metrics, our PBI. We had a 100% completion, and average burn down was in negative, because then we're still trying to get a grip of how the things were run. And effort remaining was 0 anyway, eventually. But initially, when we were in sprint 2, it was not like this, but because we eventually completed, then this is the PBI burn down. We had 100%, and our average burn down was 0. And this is sprint 2 metrics, the commencement date, the PBIs, 17 PBIs committed, 17 completed within sprint and 1 completed late, end date. And we also have our dashboard for the metrics, dashboard metrics for sprint 2. This is it, 100% completion. Then we are able to have burn down as we ought to, and the PBI burn down as well. And we had a decrease in scope. Then we went to sprint 3. This is when we have added long reach way projects to the to SharePoint. So we committed 43 PBIs, 86% completion, and the end dates. These are the details are there. Then we have the metrics, 100% completion as well. Our PBI burn down was a negative. Well, it was a negative too, because we're still trying to adjust to the new project. Then this is the sprint 4. We were only able to commit 15 PBIs, 80% completion. This is our metrics, and this is we have average burn down here. We're able to adjust because of the PBIs that were developed. The part of the project that was developed was not functional, non-functional. So by the time we got to sprint 5, it became functional. Then we had to do more, but then we had a bit of issue, so we could not commit much to. We were only able to commit 10 PBIs, and we committed 10 PBIs, 7 from sprint 5, 3 from, these numbers are not jelly. Some things. Apologies for the mistake somehow. We're only able to complete 6. We had 4 uncompleted. Then this is our metrics. We had a burn down quite all right, but because of new projects, we're still adjusting to that. So it was a bit slow. That sprint was particularly slow. Then we have sprint 5. Okay, sorry, apologies. There was some errors in this. Then these are the PBIs that we committed. Then this is the dashboard for it. We have here, this sprint was very, very slow. Then we move on to sprint 6. We had 16 PBIs committed and 15 completed. 1 was moved back to backlog because the PayPal, we do not have a PayPal account to test. And so we were instructed to move it back to the backlog. And this is our metrics. We're able to complete all our PBIs. Were able to complete. There was 100% completion. Then this is the team velocity. By the time we were done through the sprint 6, we had 18. That means that ordinarily the team, if we had to do more projects, the team would have been able to handle averagely 18 PBIs per sprint. This is what this means. And our cumulative flow diagram shows that we have 45 average counts of work in progress. So this is going ahead. These are our sprint retrospective with dates from sprint 1 to sprint 6. At the end of every sprint before demo, we usually have our review and retrospective. And this is an in-depth look into it. Oh, I have so many. Sorry, I need to move fast because this is our board and continuation of the board. And we have our challenges from sprint 1 to sprint 2 to sprint 3. Then challenges and resolution, how we're able to handle issues all through the sprint. And this is that we had our impediment log. This is for SharePoint. And this is our long reach way impediment log. I will go ahead with the team Agile Business Analyst, the BA's presentation. This is the agenda. Then from sprint 0, there was an expression of what was done during sprint 0. Then we have the sprint 1 duration, the sprint goal, the timeline. Then the elicitation requirements is here and This is talking about team participation in the sprint events, sprint ceremonies, which is important for everyone to attend. And team member participation, this is the number of stories that were written by each BA during sprint 1. Then these are team member participation, what was done by each team member for each of every BA. These are samples of PBIs of stories that were written by each different PBAs. Then we have we are moving on to sprint 2. Team composition of there's a mention of active and inactive members here. They have a reflection from sprint 1, the feedback and the focus on active member. Then we have the user acceptance testing, PBI review, SharePoint compatibility, and the results is given here. And then the product backlog items these are sample of product backlog, some of the completed PBIs. Then this is a demo of the work in progress of SharePoint as at that time. And this is this talks about when the new project was introduced, the Long Reach Way UK Long Reach Way e-commerce project, because they would normally BAs start writing their stories even before sprint because they work ahead of sprint. And this is the mandate as stated here, given by the PO, the mandate of the new project, the Long Reach Way, the project planning, the Azure board, the wireframe creation, the user journey map. Then these are some samples of wireframe that were and user journey map. And this is the workshop and building activities that were carried out during the sprint, and more workshop activities. Then lesson learned during sprint 2. Then moving to sprint 3, the agenda for sprint 3, the meet the team meetings, collaborations, and training that took place. Then these are project mandate again, and the deliverables, the DO definition of ready and definition of done for the BA team. Then the project requirement map, mind map. We have the research, the research that were carried out to see how other e-commerce websites are run to help with their writing and the wireframe. And this is a wireframe or sample, one of the wireframes for the Long Reach Way project, and the extract of more PBIs that were written. Then this is an overview of the board, of the Azure board, and the product backlog item analysis for that sprint 3. And business, this is the glossary for the BAs, the terms and the definition. And these are other activities that were carried out during that, and the readiness, the preparation for sprint 4. Then this is process map, user login, and this is the sprint impediment that was had in sprint 4, the tools and methodology. And going ahead to sprint 4, goals and deliverables, this is the man map, use case diagram, product backlog items, and wireframe for some of the PBIs, more wireframes, extract of the backlog of the product backlog items, then the product backlog items analysis, then the login or sign up process map, the requirements traceability matrix, risk matrix as well, the more glossary that were added for the BA team, and additional more glossaries. Then sprint 5, the agenda, the team again, meetings that were held, sprint ceremony, the team collaboration and the achievements that was had, the glossary goals and deliverables for the sprint, my mind for the deliverables for BAs, then the development of PBIs. These are samples of PBIs that were written, more PBIs, and the acceptance criteria, description and acceptance criteria, more of them. Then wireframe sample for the PBIs, more wireframe, which can be viewed by later. This is a backlog item, team Azure, the Azure board. Then this is analysis of the current status as at that time. This is user process map, end-to-end user process map. Then sprint
5 more
6.
minutes.
Oh, sorry. I will run through that so that the keyways can take that part. Oh, more things to do. Okay. Okay, Shagun, please go ahead. Apologies for taking too much time.
All right, good evening. My name is Oluwasegun Alao, and I'll be presenting
on behalf of Team Agile Quality Assurance Engineers. Next page. So I'll quickly give you a rundown of the activities involved in software testing during this training. So first of all, like we have like 6-stage testing process. So the first one was requirement understanding, whereby when where we're supposed to be given the project to be worked upon. So everything was reviewed, the documents required. We identified ambiguities or inconsistencies in the requirements, and then from there we went on to, as a team, we were 10 in numbers, and this involved test planning and test strategy, whereby we use the test plan to determine the scope and risk and to determine the required resources and testing environments. And then from there, we'll move on to test case creation. Once the user stories has been created and committed, the developer is being moved into in-dev, and once the developer is done, the QAs move it from in-dev to in QA, and then we start executing our test cases. So the first stage of this process is the test case execution and defect logging. And then once we execute our test case and it passes, or we face a defect, it is being logged in, and then the developer is tagged to resolve the defects. And once the defect has been corrected, we then go ahead and do retesting and regression testing as well. And once everything has been sorted, whether sorted or not sorted completely, we go ahead to do our test report sharing. So this is this page we are currently is the test strategy that was used to execute the stage 2, which was working on SharePoint page. Next page, please. So these are the test deliverables and part of this test strategy as well. Next page. Next page. So these are all the test strategies. So this was the test script that was developed by one of the team members while we were working on the SharePoint page. So this is more or less like a self-development that was done during sprint 2. Next page. So these are samples of the test cases that were written during this sprint. Next page. These are still test cases that were written by the team members. So this is the environment whereby we used to do our testing: the SharePoint, Azure DevOps, Visual Studio, Visual Studio, Microsoft Selenium, Visual Studio, C#. Next page. So these are like the artifact that we use to document the number of PBIs and the estimated efforts by the quality assurance engineer in executing the sprints. So here's more traceability matrices that detail the efforts that the QA is put into executing these test cases in this sprint. Next page. So now moving on to sprint 3, we had to work on SharePoint page and Longreach Way, which was an e-commerce website. So here's the test plan that was used to execute this test. This is continuation of the test plan. Next page. Next page. This is this test strategy. Next page. Next page. So here's a sample of the Azure DevOps. This was when the test cases were in dev. Well, it wasn't in QA, whereby test cases were being written. Next page.
1 more minute.
Okay, so these are examples of test cases that were written. So we're still focusing more on the SharePoint page than the Longreach Way here. So these are the examples of test cases. Next page. So these are the test summary of all the activities that was done during the sprints. So 30 user stories were committed. We are able to log into 2 bugs. So one was open and one was closed. One was fixed and the other one was opened. So here's the percentage of it's being passed prior to bug fix. Next page. So this is the test summary, which indicated the number of test cases designed by each team member and number of test cases that failed, number of test cases executed, number of defects that passed. And here's the environment that was still used to execute these sprints. So here are examples of our test scripts using Selenium, C#, Microsoft Visual Studios. Next page. So this is one of the test script that was done by one of the members. Next page. So here's a test summary of all the activities done, the test cases executed, design, and everything. Next page. So sprint 4 is just repetition of the same thing. And I would just like to say before my time finishes, so a lot of lessons were learned during this training. Work ethics, how to resolve issues among team members, and the best way to write test cases and to write test scripts as well. And if challenges are faced, we know the right people to meet with. And the sprint was a good one. From sprint 1 to sprint 6 was a very good one. And we want to appreciate you for giving us this privilege to train under you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adigbero. We'll be presenting for Team Binaries, myself, Adigbero, and Damisola. We have the agenda for today. Next, please. As an introduction, at the start of the internship, Blue Sky Citadel interns were onboarded into the organization's program, tailored specifically to each individual's discipline. With hands-on practical training, we immediately thrown into the proper setting of a Scrum Master, DA, PM, QA, BA, and Q as the case may be. Initially, the task was a little bit overwhelming, but with seasoned and talented experts, tutors, mentors, and bodies, under the guidance of Deji, we were able to weather the initial storm that we might have experienced or faced. Having come from various and diverse backgrounds, as well as professional fields and work experiences, Blue Sky Citadel became a melting pot for all, for which a new fountain of knowledge into the world of IT sprung up and grew amongst the new interns. We have our project mandates, which was the SharePoint page.
Excuse me. Sorry, my apologies.
Evening, everyone. My name is Adigbero, presenting with Damisola for Team Binary. Next, please. We have the agenda of the day. Next, please. As we have our introduction to the workplace internship. So I'll just give a brief description of what it took as an come on board. At the start of the internship at Blue Sky Citadel, all interns were onboarded to the organization's program, tailored specifically to each individual discipline. While training workshop related to the general group, that is SM, BA, QA, DM, ADM as the case may be, was tailored with hands-on practical training classes via the web. Immediately, we were thrown into the proper work setting of the Scrum Master, DA, QA, PM, ETC, ADM, and BA. This seemed overwhelming at first, but with seasoned and talented experts, tutors, and mentors, and bodies under the guidance of DG, were able to weather the initial storm that we might have experienced or faced, having come from various and diverse backgrounds, as well as professional fields and work experiences. Blue Sky Citadel became a melting pot for all, which a new foundation of knowledge into the world of IT sprung and grew amongst we new interns. Next, please. We have our project mandate, which was the SharePoint, which we started at the beginning of the sprint to deliver a high quality and efficient SharePoint page that will meet the requirements and expectation of our clients. Next, please. And the purpose, the Long Reach project also was the next one, which had its objective as to develop an e-commerce platform that provides a user-friendly interface for customers to purchase long-reach UK products online, enhance customer engagement through features like personalized recommendation, customers review, loyalty program, streamline order processing, payment and delivery to ensure a smooth customer experience, provide comprehensive customer support through multiple channels, including email, chats, and phone, while integrate the platform with long-reach existing logistic and inventory system to ensure efficient product management and delivery. Next, please. We have our sprint ceremonies with highlighted, as we can see, with the Blue Sky internship time and the standard time highlighted as well. Next, please. Now, from sprint 1, we're new to the system, to the program, and we have our chart represented here. As we can see, the effort bundle shows that the new PBI were planned during the sprint planning, and more added to the PBIs along the line in the sprint, but none was completed. This was because SMs were the developers and were new to the environment. You know, the velocity chart shows that the few committed and more were added. However, none of them were completed. The cumulative flow diagram shows that from 12th of May to 30th May, there were no activities that happened. Our work items started progressing from 1st of June and had PBIs from BA down to dev done. Next, please. We'll go through, as we can see, the next slide, please. Next. Yeah, we'll have the sprints, the chart as well. Next, please. Oh, we went all through from the beginning of sprint 1. I'll just explain a little bit where we were new. And by the time we got into sprint 2, we were a little bit up and running into what we're doing. We had more grasp of what we did. The sprint 2 burn down chart shows that by the time we started sprint 2, some of the PBIs that weren't completed in sprint 1 were completed at the beginning of sprint 2, and the bug was detected. We committed more PBIs to the sprint, and it shows that development work started, which shows in the burn down chart. Some activities here done on the project as Scrum Masters was creating and maintaining the Azure board, facilitating agile ceremonies like daily stand-up, sprint planning, sprint reviews, retrospective, and refinements, liaising with stakeholders and the product owners, enhancing effective use of Scrum theories and practice, training and coaching, resolving conflicts, removing impediments, keeping records on the wiki page, and creating sprint reports, and create and figure the metrics and estimation. Next, please. We have a screenshot of the Azure board, as we can see where PBIs on the board. Next, please. We also have a dash screenshot of the matrix and various charts. Next, please. The continuation of the board. Next. These are other tasks done by individuals and group as well. Next. Yeah, part of it too. Just go through. Next. These are the reflection board, the retrospective. And here we got to a stage whereby from sprint 1 to sprint 2, all through the way to sprint 6, we learned a lot along the way, and we, upon reflection, we had various things that we reflected upon. Like initially in sprint 1, we faced a lot of issues, like impediments and various things like accessing the board by various members of the group. Those are things we tackled, and so that we were able to put forward our process of mitigation, and our process of escalation was a little bit low in a way, so we had to improve on that as well. By the time we got into sprint 2, we had better scheduling of events, turnouts were better, keeping documents up to date. Next slide, please. Continue with the slides. And go to the SharePoint page. Part of what we did in SharePoint, we have screenshots of the SharePoint page. Next, please. We have a screenshot of the tracker. Here we have a link to the training videos. The lessons taught with the training videos. Here also we have a snapshot of like what is worked upon about SMs on the team folders. If you go to the next previous slide, please. By members of the team, whereby folders were created because we were part of developers at that time. Next one, please. This is the snapshot of the Longreach website. Next. Also the Longreach website. Move on, please. Now we talk about the charters, whereby we had to develop a groups page on the charters site, where we had to add members of the team on the side and create individual registration for each members of the group. We have a group represented by team binary, and we have a URL as well, where we had other groups and members answer and post blogs on the site, as well as questions. So we also have a link that takes anyone to the group, both individual and the group page as well. Next, please. So here is a list of for the SMs, the links to the group that takes you to Chathams. Next, please. By sprint two, among reflections we're talking about what we had initially, whereby we had better scheduling of events, meeting turnout, keeping documents up to date, attendance tracker, DSU process and follow-ups were better. The collaboration between teams, the turnout, escalation channels, and more participation and active members. Next, please. By the time we got to sprint 3 onwards to sprint 6, we ensured that we follow the Scrum process actively, follow up on impediments as issues raised. The escalation process was followed and implemented, impediments resolved. Great improvements in communication with developers and stakeholders, and learning and the progression went well. There was collaboration and communication amongst team interns. Self-development and research into each role was better. Next, please. We also have a snapshot of the users on the Charter site and a list of tools used during the internship. Thank you.
Hi.
I'll be handing out.
Thank you. So now we'll be talking about what the business analysts worked on during their 3 months or 6 months internship.
10 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will be talking about going through the teams, the things we worked on, some of our documents, our artifacts, the projects that we worked on, including their wireframes and user stories. Okay, so when the team started back in at the very beginning in sprint 1, we were a lot more than 10, but unfortunately there's only 10 of us left now, but we're still standing strong till the very end. So some of the things we worked on, as I said earlier, are 2 projects. The first one called SharePoint project, where we designed, where we customized a SharePoint site for Team Binary to be able to optimize their documents and to be able to collaborate better as a team. The second project was a Longbridge e-commerce website, which is the platform that we developed for Longbridge UK to help them enhance their product sales. So some of our roles and responsibilities as a BA and also during our internship was to translate requirements into clear user stories and wireframes, making sure they aligned with stakeholders and the development team. We also collaborated with the stakeholders and always made sure that all our requirements were well aligned with the project vision. And as BAs, we always made sure to bridge the gap between the business objectives and the technical execution. So some of the skills that we acquired collectively during our internship is we gained basic proficiency in some professional tools like Balsamiq, Microsoft Visio. We also improved on our facilitation skills, our verbal skills, written skills, our ability to think analytically and identify business issues. So now just looking at the SharePoint project, which we worked on between Sprint 1 and Sprint 2 and delivered on as well. Here is a summary of the mandate, which shows the timeline was between the 4th of June up until the 1st of July. And our key deliverable, as I mentioned earlier, was to create a functional SharePoint environment. So this slide shows screenshots of the actual documents for our project mandate. And here is a slide showing Sprint 1 PBIs, and the next one will be showing Sprint 2 PBIs. So now onto Longbridge e-commerce website, which we worked on between Sprint 3 all the way to Sprint 6. Again, is a mandate summary, and the objectives for this project was to build a user-friendly, scalable e-commerce website, to also integrate secure payment gateways, and the timeline for this was between the 2nd of July and the 26th of August. Here are screenshots of the 5-page project mandate that we were given. This screenshot shows the Longbridge delivery plan that we created. which helped us to organize us or to work according to the requirements and the timeline better. Okay, so this screenshot shows the PBIs for Sprint 3, Sprint 4, Sprint 5, and Sprint 6. So here is this slide shows or has the link for some of the wireframes that we worked on, and this is for DGO and any of the stakeholders to have a look at later. So here I'll be going quickly into like the user stories, wireframes, and the website screenshots that we have. So looking closely at this slide here, right here is a screenshot of the website, and above and beneath it are the wireframes that were created. So now taking a closer look at this PBI called shopping cart for an empty cart. One of the BAs wrote the user story and the acceptance criteria. And this is for, you know, as a customer, I want to see shopping carts so that I can see where my selected products go to. So at the top here of the wireframe, you can see a shopping cart, which was added to our wireframe, and it is reflected clearly on the current website, which means that we delivered on that functionality and the requirement that was asked of us. Also looking at the wireframe beneath, our wireframe was supposed to have an image on the left-hand side and these wordings on the right-hand side. And you can see that that was replicated properly by Team Binary and the developer on the website. So the same story goes for this screenshot as well. We translated the requirements that we got from the stakeholders into our user stories. Thank you. Into user stories, acceptance criteria, and wireframes, which then helped the developer to develop the website. So going through these quickly, this also show side-by-side images of wireframe and the actual website. So some of the other documents and artifacts that we created includes a use case diagram. And this one, for example, shows how a customer can register their details on the website. So on the right-hand side is the actual diagram that was created by one of our BAs. The same thing goes for this one. And this use case is for our shopping cart. And these are some of the things that helped us to translate the requirements properly. So here we have two user journey maps. On this left-hand side is the persona that we created. And the journey map, again, this was one of the artifacts that helped us to translate and to understand better what our user wants. Here is the second user journey map that we created. So now going to process workflow diagrams. These diagrams helped us to understand better the flow of the website that we were developing. So the first one here is the customer registration and login process. And the next one is the long-reach product search process map. Here is the purchase and checkout process, fulfillment and shipping, and then finally customer review, where the customer clicks on the review and the system displays the review page. Then they are able to write the review, submit the review, the system acknowledges the review, and that process ends. So we also created a gap analysis, and this is something that we reviewed continuously throughout the project. So we looked at the current state of the e-commerce website, which at the time it was had limited to no functionality at all. We identified the gap, and we also concluded on our desired state, which would be to have a fully functional e-commerce website. Some of the actions that were required, that we feel going forward is required, is to design and develop a website with all the necessary features that would meet the needs of the users. Here again, we have embedded a link for the user stories between sprint 1 to 6 for again Deji to have a look at when he pleases. So going on, I'll just skip through these. These are screenshots of all of the PBI's user story acceptance criteria that we wrote throughout this internship for both SharePoint project and Longbridge. Okay, so finally, some of the artifacts that we created, like the stakeholder matrix, rating matrix, our business requirement documents, and so many artifacts that helped us to deliver on this project to a very high standard. And here we have chatters, which we also individually contributed to as a team. And finally, a glossary. So just to talk about some of the lessons that we learned to definitely multitask better, communicate better, mitigate risks. Thank you. And these are some of the tools that we used. Thank you.
We'll be pausing for the day. Next, please. Well, we have a team members. Next, please. Activities of the day. Introduce the installation of Tableau public desk application. Proficiency gains in Tableau, as we can see, creating visualization using the measures and dimensions such as bar chart, pie chart, donut chart, math, time series, and moving average. The use of dashboard for visualization. Next, please. Proficiency gained Power BI, installation of Power BI desktop application and SQL Server Management Studios, important data onto the SSM, MS, and the sorting data. Next, please. Proficiency gained in SQL, introduction to standard query language, types of query language, most common use SQL commands and simple queries, use of partial select and the where clause, use of distinct and working on calculated field. Next, please. Task, dashboard of class, discuss showing an overview of three visualizations. Next, please. This one also shows the overview of BA by BAs by PBIs assigned and PBIs created. It shows visualization of backlog, also visualization of QA backlog activities. Next, please. Sprint 2. The project scope, Adventure Works Limited consulted Blue Sky Citadel to carry out the sales of analysis of their data. The task was assigned to the binary DAs. Next, please. And the project update. Tools use a Power BI. Creating relationship between the tables is necessary for accurate modeling, report visualization, and model view visualization. Next, please. A table with the reseller key in both the reseller table and the sales table show to be related to each other, while the product key in both products table and sales table also allow them to be related. We have a screenshot of them. Next.
Please just run through the slides. Your time was up 2 minutes ago. Thank you.
Just run through the slides, please. Just run through the activities. Summary of visualization. Next. 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 We also continue on visualization. These are works done by part of the team. Next. Next, please. Go on to sprint 4.
Just to confirm, Benro, this one is for the ADMs, right?
Yeah, that's for the ADM.
Okay, okay.
We've got the
Mm,
few for the PM2 and the QA.
mm. Is it that they are all not here to present themselves?
No.
Okay.
Can I say we are supposed to present for them, but
We
because
are
we were
supposed to
told,
present for them.
yeah, but because we were told we don't have any time left, so we're just
Yeah, I
going through the
understand. I
slides.
know I'm saying that you're just going through it. I would have minded us to present, but I just don't want to boss tonight. It's fine.
Okay.
Keep going, keep going. Is it me or is not moving again? Okay. All right.
It would be good for you to talk over it anyway. It's just boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if they are strolling, I think, yeah, but it's fine anyway. So you should be able to.
Okay, because I think we're a bit confused as to what to do. Do we talk or just skip through the slides? But
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, you can
we'll
continue
talk.
talking
Can
while
just be talking
yeah.
and moving it.
Okay. So we're towards the end of the presentation for the QAs, and we're nearing the end where we'll then get to look at some of the work that they worked on in Sprint 5. So test cycle. Next slide. Some of the bugs that were raised, some of the past test cases, and some of the challenges that they had, which include incorrect user stories and resource constraints. Sprint 6 as well, there was bug management, test cycles. This is a screenshot of some of the PBIs and the board. Some of the challenges, again, that they faced were bugs with PBIs and resource constraints. Some of the lessons that were learned was to invest more time in drafting and framing sessions to avoid execution delays. Thank you. So now finally to the project managers. So this is the name of the team members of the project managers. This is their attendance tracker, more of the attendance tracker. Activity attendance charts. So weekly training, a screenshot of the summer weekly training. Some of the lessons that were learned, CV review, Excel training, ClickUp for project scheduling. So team binaries, attendance record. More of the record for team binary. Azure job activities tracker for team binary. And I'll leave the conclusion to Adegbero.
Dami? Damsela?
Yeah, to read through the conclusion at the
Oh, the conclusion.
Okay. We ended the program. Conclusion, we ended the program with the individual task, elevator pitch, and at the end of the program, questions and answers that were uploaded onto the Prep Media website. There have been a lot of positives to take away from the program, from delving into the unfamiliar terrain and getting accustomed and settling down to the business of the day. Various roles under the Blue Sky Scalar umbrella opens up various possibilities in the tech world. Knowledge has been gained and lessons learned along the way. As a SM, BA, QA, PA, ADM, and DA, we all have been exposed to various tools and ways to match them together. when performing our task. And by that measure, it's a worthwhile program that has a lot of positive possibilities and opportunities, for which we have already seen bearing results by one of our own getting a role as a QA before the end of the program. Thank you very much.